Raider Nation, thanks for stopping in. It's been a few minutes. I was, caught up with the holidays and I had a few other things going on, and was a little out of the, a little stepped away there for a few minutes, but we're here, we're back at it. I've been following everything that's been going on and all the new rumors and news and everything, but things are starting to get a little serious now. We're getting here close to the draft, and we got to figure out what this team's going to do. So, a couple of weeks ago, I put out a mock draft on a short, and it involved a kind of couple of trade downs, and ended up trading all the way down to 16, and we went from there. And I got some mixed reviews about it, but I still think trading down is a good option. But for the sake of this draft, I put together a different kind of setup where no trades, and just kind of see where it falls. So when you do these things, you got to use a mock draft simulator. You got to do these. But what I did was I just ran a bunch of them over and over and over, and this way we can get a good idea of maybe a feel for at least what these simulators are saying is possibly available. So after doing that, I felt pretty comfortable with most of the picks I came up with. Now, look, not everything here is going to be popular with everybody. And this is my opinion on what would be a great draft for the Raiders. That's just my opinion. And it's no one really knows. No one's a perfect prognosticator of drafts. So, this is just one of those things where, we kind of put two and two together based on need, the quality of the player and so on and so forth. So, like I said, in my previous drafts, I had, I had traded down and, ended up taking Kalijah Kancey. I took Joey Porter Jr. with the first pick at 16 and Kancey at 38 and so on and so forth. And we just kind of went from there. But for the sake of this exercise, I wanted to kind of see what does the scenario look like if the Raiders just hold pat and we just run it right through. So with that being said, after multiple simulators and stuff, I just kept having Jalen Carter fall to number 7. And if you guys watched my, I made a video about the 5 reasons that Jalen Carter should be drafted. I made a short about it as well. And, this is a kind of a change for me because, I was kind of off the Jalen Carter stuff, after the whole drama went down with the stuff that happened in at Georgia and then the pro day. I was really kind of out on him. But, man, the more and more you watch on this kid, it's just you cannot deny the talent. And, he's just such a generational type talent that you got to take a risk, in my opinion. And look, I don't know that the Raiders will take a risk, to be honest with you, but I think he's worth the risk. So with 7, I picked Jalen Carter. And I don't even think I really need to tell you guys why. And, I think that the why is obvious. He's the best defensive tackle to come out in who knows how long. Maybe since Aaron Donald, and even when Aaron Donald came out, and no one knew that Aaron Donald was going to turn out to be, who he actually is. You know what I mean? So, it's always been an evolving process. But from what he's put on tape for the last 2 years, there's just no question. In my opinion, he's probably the best player in the draft, overall player, offense, defense, doesn't matter. He's probably the best player. The best, probably most for sure prospect. Now, of course, all this hinges on, him getting that personal, some of these character issues behind him, some of these personal issues. It looks like most of that case involving the accident that happened over there has been adjudicated. So I think that's behind him. But, there's still, the other character issues. But, I think with some good coaching, some good mentors, people like Max Crosby in the building, Devontae Adams, I think they can get him on the right track. And, man, I tell you what, he's a game changer. And our defense would be, just how much did Aaron Donald change the Rams' defense? Right? I don't think I need to say any more, right? And is he Aaron Donald? We don't know. But has he got the talent to be Aaron Donald? Yes. That's how great he is. So with number 7, I took Jalen Carter. Again, a player I just don't feel like you can get off of. So when we look at the draft, we're looking at what are the biggest needs the Raiders have. And I think defensive tackle is the biggest need that the Raiders have. We need someone who could play the run, but also develop, get that pass rush. Jalen Carter checks off that box. The next things, biggest holes we have, all the biggest holes are on defense. So let's get that out of the way. The biggest holes are on defense. Okay. So defensive tackle was the first biggest hole. Then we got linebacker. Then we got corner. And then we got safety. Now you probably interchange some of those on what's 2, 3, and 4, but either way, they're all pretty big gaping holes. So with that being said, at 38, I took Drew Sanders, who I think is the best off-ball linebacker, well, really the best overall linebacker in the draft. 6'5", good speed, good tackler, good in coverage. Not elite in coverage, but good enough in coverage. Better than anything we got now. Let's face it, we can't roll into this season with Divine Diablo and Spillane and Masterson and think we're in a good situation. I don't see how anybody could think that that's a reasonable outlook on it. Spillane was made out to be a splash hiring. He's good in the box. I think he's a good tackler, but man, he's a liability. And listen, when it comes to linebacker, hey, we have to draft to stop Kelsey. Period. We have to draft to stop Mahomes. Period. That is our ultimate goal. Yeah, I know you got Herbert. I know you got some other talent in the division and in the AFC. Yeah, that's great. But guess what? King of the Mountain is 15, and he's in our division. So we got to prepare for that. And Kelsey's just a monster. I think Drew Sanders is going to give us some good. He's a good player with a lot of upside to improve on what he already is, and he's already, I think, the best linebacker in the draft. And I think that's pretty consensus across the most mock drafts, and most prognosticators have Drew Sanders is the best linebacker. Not a deep linebacker class, so getting the best one there, hey, checked off 2 boxes already. Now, as we kind of go through this process, now we're going to come into round 3. We've got the defensive lineman. We've got the linebacker, right? So we got corner, safety, right? And then, and then we can, move on to some other needs, tight end, and so on and so forth. But my next pick's probably going to surprise you, and it's actually probably going to get a lot of flack. I'm sure somebody's going to tell me how garbage this whole draft is, and probably because of this specific pick. But I don't care, because I think this is the right pick if he's there. And based on my simulators, he was there the vast majority of the time. And so at number 70, I'm taking offensive lineman out of North Dakota State, Cody Mauch. Well, that's probably a surprising pick to you guys. And some people might even say, okay, he's good, but that's early. I don't think so. I think that he is way undervalued. I think that he's an elite talent. He's right up there with the Paris Johnsons and all those guys, Osiris Torrance and all these guys, as far as talent, as far as I'm concerned. Great strength, great quickness. You could talk about his level of talent, but he went to the Senior Bowl and dominated. He's just a great player. He's just a great player, period. I don't think there's any other way to go around it, And yes, I love the missing front teeth. It's just nostalgic kind of a thing, It reminds me of a hockey player. So, listen, I think that he's a next level talent. And do we have a serviceable offensive line? Yeah, it's serviceable, but are we trying to have a serviceable offensive line, or do we want great pieces in the offensive line? So, Cody Mauch, probably surprising. Probably a lot of you don't like it, but I think that's the right pick there at 70, and I think that's great value at 70 because I think he's better than the 70th player on the board. So, defensive tackle, linebacker, and O-line. And listen, O-line is a need. Not a high priority need, but it was a little bit of a need because we're having to kind of plug and play some players that we're just hoping they play really well. We don't have, outside of Colton Miller, we don't have that dominant, real, dog on the offensive line. We have some serviceable players. So, Cody Mauch is still filling a need, just not as high a priority one, but it's just too good a talent. Too good a talent for 70. Now, we can get back to the needs of the next pick. Pick 100, the Darren Waller pick from the Giants. I took, again, another pick that a lot of you probably going to give me some shit about, but you know what? I don't give a damn because, in my opinion, you got to just put the tape on and forget about everything else. Just put the tape on. Don't act like you don't know anything else about the guy. And that's Tre'Vius Tre'Vius, Hodges-Tomlinson, LT's nephew. Listen, 5'8.5", I think he is. He ain't a big dude. Okay, we all can acknowledge that. But some of the greatest, corners of all time aren't big dudes. A little bigger than him, but not all of them are big dudes. Darrelle Revis is only 5'11". You know what I mean? So you don't got to be the biggest dude. But to put the tape on, hey, listen, the tape don't lie. The kid's dynamite, good ball skills. He just has a nose for the ball. He blanket covers. He's good and he can play man. He can play zone. He's just good in everything. Just really good instincts. And, listen, some players just have that it thing. And for me, I've been on this kid. Everybody says, well, he's too small and he's a slot guy or whatever. Hey, listen, don't give me none of that shit. He's a top flight corner. Is he with Witherspoon or Gonzalez or whatever? Maybe not that quite to that level, but listen, he ain't that far off. He just, his size is the only thing that's dragging him because his tape is phenomenal. His tape is absolutely phenomenal. So you might not like that pick, but listen, that's where I'm going with it. That's what I think is the pick. Pick 109. Listen, I doubled right back. With corner. And I went with Darius Rush, defensive back, South Carolina. Now listen, another kid with a lot of talent. Put the film on. The kid can cover. We've been hearing for weeks and months about how deep this cornerback draft class is, and it is true. It is a very deep class. That's why, we could wait to still get some really high quality corners. And I think Darius Rush is still an upgrade over, most of the guys we have on the roster now. So, or at least has the potential to be a better than most of the guys we have on the roster now. So I think that's a pick that I'm really comfortable with. And I ain't going back to back there. I think, kind of solidifies, hey, we took two corners. We got two corners. We've addressed that. So now what do we need to address? We need to address the safety position. So with pick 141, I took Ji'Ayir Brown, safety, Penn State. Good player, rangy, good tackler. I think he's going to be a solid player in the NFL. He needs a little bit of development, but I think he's going to be a solid player. And I think, hey, listen, we got Epps back there, but Epps is, a liability in coverage. So we got to develop some other people there. And I think Ji'Ayir Brown there, pick 141 is good value. And so that's why I took him there. Edge. Now, listen, this is the player that I'm high on. And actually, I heard Mo Moton on Bleacher Report today talking about this cat. But, listen, you always need edge rushers. Mad Max can't play every play, and he plays too many plays already. So I took Isaiah McGuire, edge out of Michigan. Mo actually had him on his board too, in the 5th, 6th round. And, he just said, hey, he thinks that kid's a 3rd round talent. And I agree. The kid's, he's not getting the love that he should. Very good player. Very strong at the point of attack. I think he's very underrated. 174. Now listen, the other kind of outlier thing we've needed is another quarterback. Right? I mean, listen, we got 37-year-old Hoyer and Chase Garbers ain't going to cut it. So we need some kind of developmental prospect. We're not going to give them the top guys. It is what it is. So after, several mock drafts, it kind of kept coming to DTR was available. So, hey, DTR out of UCLA, he's got upside. And you know what? Don't sleep on him. And, he's got some, he can move. He can make plays. And, he needs some development, but, any quarterback down in these lower rounds are going to need some development. So, I think he's the best option down there. He's probably 7th or 8th best quarterback in the draft, but I think that's good value there at 174. So I took DTR as the developmental quarterback. Hey, if it doesn't work out, the kid don't look good or whatever, you move on next year. But I think he's a good developmental prospect. So that's why I felt like that was a good value pick there. Pick 204. Now we're going to go back to safety. Go back to the defense. Gervarrius Owens, safety out of Houston. Another kid with some upside, pretty solid tackler, but, hey, when you get into these picks 200 and above, you got to think not just about the position they play, but what else can they contribute on? And I think this kid could be a good special teams player. And you have to have that value in these later rounds. That's what they're looking for. If you develop into something else, great. But we're really, you got to consider the special teams value. So I think this kid's going to have special teams value, and we'll see where he goes. He could develop into a really effective safety. Could be a good rotational piece. Again, players can't play every play. You got to have some depth on these teams, right? So Owens was my pick there, and I think he's, is a good prospect. My next pick 214. A defensive lineman I actually really like here, and it's Karl Brooks, defensive tackle, Bowling Green. I think he, again, look, he's a later round guy, right? I mean, he's not obviously Carter, but listen, he's not Cansey, but the guy's tough, man, and I like the way he plays. He's a dog, and I like that. So, not a lot to say about Brooks except for you just got to watch him, and good value to me at 214. They're about right where I think he should go. 220. Listen, we got a linebacker earlier when we got Sanders, right? We addressed that earlier with a top flight one. And I think here's another one that's, I hate that little term, a sneaky pick, but I think this is a sneaky pick. And it comes from the same school, and that's Bumper Pool, linebacker, Arkansas. Played right alongside Sanders. And again, I think a good player, a good tackler, could be a special teams specialist. It could be a rotational piece in the linebackers. And again, our linebacker room is so weak that bringing in players like Bumper Pool, you never know. That kid could develop into something that beats out one of these other guys. An upgrade's an upgrade. So, you got to look at it like that. And with the last pick, look, part of the thing is, I ran this mock drafts over and over and over, and I know I'm going to get a lot of shit here for not getting one of the better tight ends, even though it's a deep tight end class. But I just found so much value on the defense as we were going along that I just had to keep going on the defensive side. And, we have Hooper, we have O.J. Howard, which I'm not big on. But, Jesper Horsted, don't sleep on Jesper Horsted. Listen, I'm telling you, he's going to be better and is better than you think. But I picked Marshon Ford, tight end out of Louisville. He good blocker, could be serviceable, and, another body in there, and, take a flyer on the guy. It's our last pick in the draft, so I take a flyer on him and see what happens. But I don't think our tight end room is as weak as people or maybe you initially think. I know we don't have Waller, but was Waller that much of a loss? His production in the last 2 years was terrible, but it is what it is. But, hey, listen, I appreciate you guys giving me comments down there. Let me know what you guys think. Who would you draft where? Maybe, and look, I know you guys are going to give me a lot of shit about this draft, probably not getting a tight end, drafting the 70th pick, drafting an offensive lineman. But, hey, listen, this is just, like I said, this is my opinion and what I think would be a great draft for the Raiders. We're all entitled to our own opinions. That's what makes it great, but in the end, hey, we roll with it. But, I appreciate you guys. I'm going to try to be a little bit more active and a little bit more consistent. I have been putting out the shorts, but I try to be more consistent with this, and I'm still trying to develop on the technology side. But I appreciate you guys stopping by. Hey, listen, hit the thumbs up, subscribe, hit the notification bell. We're only getting started. Our content's only going to get better. I promise you that. And, we're here to stay. It's going to take us a while, but you know what? We're here to stay. And we appreciate each and every one of you guys. Well, till next time, see you later.